happens every once in a while that you meet someone and you're just like, oh my God, I want to have you right now. And it's like,
Exactly. I know.
yeah, right, it
I
happens.
know that feeling.
But
Hey, come talk with us. I say TW. That's what's up. Yeah, come talk with us. I say TW.
Hello, guys. Welcome back on Talk with Osasi. If you're new here, welcome. Are you returning? Welcome back. Guys, if you haven't already, please click on the bell notification, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned. Today on Talk with Osasi, we have invited an amazing guest, Beauty with Brains. She is a dating coach, relationship coach. I introduce to you Yulia Sky. Hey Yulia, hello.
hello,
Welcome
hi,
to the show.
thank you.
How are you? How are you doing today?
Great. I'm doing great, thank you. Amazing.
Amazing. I must say I am so thrilled to have you on the show. Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you too. Can you please tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Yulia, and I'm a dating and relationship coach from Ukraine. I started this thing probably many years ago when I first started working in a matchmaking company as a translator.
Oh,
And
wow.
we helped men and women from different countries meet each other and start a relationship and hopefully get married. And
Oh,
yeah, it was quite interesting actually. And I first felt this thrill of like how cool it is to help people find their love when one of my clients actually got married and he invited me to his wedding. And I was standing here thinking like I was the person who helped them meet, who helped them like build a relationship and help them to get to
nice.
know each other. And they like thanked me for being a part of their journey. I was
Journey.
like, oh my
Wow.
God, this is so cool. I want to do more of this. So this is basically how I got started and how like I felt that I really love doing this. And later on, I discovered that there's a whole industry of dating coaches that exists that I didn't know about. And so I started to learn more about it. I had some mentors who helped me kind of get into this and who coached me and mentored me throughout my journey of becoming a coach. And now I've been like a dating coach for probably a little bit more than 3 years now. And I help my clients become more confident in talking to people, kind of because a lot of us are introverts, a lot of us don't have enough like social skills. And so I help them realize how can we, make a better connection, create an engaging conversation, just become confident about who they are and how to be a little bit more charismatic
Wow.
in and that will eventually help you in meeting your um, partner. So
Wow, Yulia. Lovely. I love your whole journey. The fact that you are touching lives and helping people through their journey, it is beautiful. Please tell us, how do we build our confidence in connecting with others?
that's a great question, actually. And I think it's a very kind of multi-layered one, right? So there's not a simple answer to this question, like how do we build confidence, right? But what I found out throughout my coaching is that confidence is not something you wake up with, right? You don't wake up one morning and you're like, oh my God, I'm confident, I'm gonna go and crush it. We build confidence most of all through competence, right? So it's like I always like to compare it with like learning to play the guitar, right? So you don't pick up the guitar for the first time or like start jamming out, right? You
Yeah.
just at first you learn like one chord, two chords, you learn how to place your fingers and stuff like that. So it's kind of the same thing. First, we just learn like baby steps. Maybe how do I go out and like I would say hello to a stranger, or how I start a conversation with like at some with like a shop assistant at the grocery store, right? Like how it is like, hey, how are you doing, right? Just small things. But like I said, we build confidence through competence. So knowing that we can do something well makes us feel confident in
Yeah.
our skills, right? So only by practicing being social, going out, and I give my clients like a lot of tools how to do that, right? And by kind of following the baby steps and realizing like, oh, I can do this, and then you become confident. But it's not the other, like not the other way around, right? It's not like at first I become confident and then I can talk to people, right? It's vice versa. So you get confidence later on.
Okay, so you just have to take that step and practice, and then every day you keep building and building your confidence. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's like, there's this great phrase like fake it till you make it. And, a lot of times when when we want to connect with people, we're nervous and shy, and it's okay. And I always tell people it's okay to embrace the fact that you're nervous and awkward. And usually people are so nice and sweet and sympathetic, even when they know you're like you're feeling nervous. And you can even tell them like, hey, I'm actually extremely nervous right now talking to you, and I don't do this very often, but I really want to connect. And people are always like really responsive to that, because nobody expects you to be perfect and be confident.
Exactly.
But as long as you embrace the fact that you can be nervous and you can be awkward, then people are very forgiving of that.
Yeah. Amazing. I do that a lot when I have like school presentation. I just tell the whole class, like, guys, right now I'm very nervous. Or when I have interview, I always tell whoever is interviewing me, I'm very nervous right now, but I got this. And they're like, okay, no
Yeah,
stress, everything is
I
fine.
think it's such a power move to admit to something
It
you feel
makes you
insecure
feel
about.
good, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Totally. I agree. This is like the best thing for somebody, like the best advice for someone who wants to start, just to admit to whatever, like if you're nervous, just, call it out. It's cool. People respect that. They respect the honesty, right? And
Yeah.
they admire that.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, what would you say? Now, let me rephrase that. What inspired you to becoming a dating and relationship coach? Is this something you've always wanted to do?
It's definitely not something I've always wanted to do. My profession, like my original job, is I'm an English teacher. So I have master's degree in linguistics. So I thought I was going to be an English teacher, and I worked as an English teacher for some time. But then I don't know. It's just, I guess when you feel the rewards of what you're doing, I
Hmm.
would say that, I mean, coaching is similar to teaching, right? In terms of like, you can feel the rewards of what you're doing when you see your students perform well, or when you see your clients reaching their goal and becoming happier and more fulfilled people. Of course, it makes you feel good, and it's just one of the things that, like, I'm doing something good, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's every person's, like every human desire to contribute something to the world, to help people. And I think that's what we all want ultimately. So I guess that's like, I feel like that's just my contribution, something that I can do. Um, yeah.
I agree with you. Beautiful. So, what would you say is your biggest motivation?
Um, you know, I think just I love connecting with people, and I love showing people that only through connecting with other humans we can become happier and more fulfilled, right? We're very social creatures, and nowadays at our day and age, people are so isolated. They tend to be on their own. We tend to, like, especially after COVID and everything, like, people are so used to being on their own, and a lot of us just feeling so lonely, and we crave for connection. And I think my main motivation is to show people that we all crave the same things, right? Ultimately. And um, somebody has to take the first step. Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to, like, reach out and try to connect. And this is what, just ultimately makes us happier, makes us just enjoy our life more. Just being with someone, being around people who get you, being with people who you build deep, meaningful relationship with.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Julia, we go on a short break
All
and
right.
we will be right back. Hi, guys. Welcome back. Hey, Julia. Welcome back. So,
Thank you.
my question for you on dating is, or in a relationship, is how do you get over someone, over an ex, your spouse? How do you get over someone? This is something that is very difficult.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, it is. So I can definitely speak from my personal experience because I've definitely had a few painful breakups in my life. So, and I've done it both ways. I've done it like the wrong way, and then I've done it the right way. So I kind of have something to some perspective about it. So I think the best way to do it, okay, I don't want to say the best way, but the way that works essentially is, first of all, give yourself some time to grieve, right? Because when you don't give yourself this time where you can cry about it and be sad and whine to your friends like how depressed you are, how you miss them, then those pent up emotions, you would always carry them with yourself, right? So give yourself as much time as you need to cry and just to do whatever you need to do to grieve the end of relationship, because it's just like with a person passing, and dying. This is a relationship that died, and if you don't give yourself this time to grieve, you will never get over it. You will always have this like residual sadness that you will carry on with you everywhere you go. So, and I think it's very, very important, and that's what a lot of people don't tend to do, especially the guys. Girls are more like, they're more and not, I don't want to generalize, but like, let's say some people are really bad with showing their emotions and letting themselves just cry and be sad, right? But crying is a good thing, right? So whether you need 2 weeks, you need maybe like 3 weeks, a month, just take your time. But I mean, don't let it stretch for like longer periods of time, right? Then second thing that I think it's really good to do when you're getting over someone is go into therapy, right? Get a therapist or get a coach, someone you can actually talk to, not just your friends, because eventually your friends will probably be tired of you, like always whining about your breakup, but actually someone who can give you helpful tools and helpful things to do to get yourself out of this state, right? So for me, therapy is something that really helped me getting over my last breakup, and it was just like the best thing I could have done for myself, honestly. And it's just, the therapist will help you process all your feelings in a really healthy environment, and without you kind of, it wouldn't let you turn to like alcohol or drugs, or any kind of harmful behavior that people tend to do when they're sad, right? But this is like, you can channel it to talking with a therapist and actually, trying to figure out what went wrong and how you can process it and move on, right? And the third thing that I think is super, super important to understand is that I kind of imagine our life. If you imagine our life as a table that has like 4 legs or maybe more legs, right? And each leg would represent a different area of your life, right? Like your relationship, your job, your friends, your family, your hobbies and passions. And then if you imagine this table standing like still and then one leg falls off, but if you have other legs to support yourself, your construction will still stand, right? It wouldn't fall down or fall apart. But if you base all of your life around your relationship, if your leg only has, if your table only has one leg or two
Right.
legs, then if one falls off, the whole construction will wobble and fall apart, right? So
Yeah.
having a really strong support system, which means having a job you love, having passions and interests, having friends, having family, those things are your support system. And also, of course, having yourself, always being able to rely on yourself, will help you stand and not fall apart when you break up with someone, right? Your table will still be stable no matter what happens, right? So working on having that support system, building that support system in your life, I think it's very, very important.
Oh, beautiful. So, going for therapy, having support system, working on yourself, um,
Giving yourself time to grieve,
the time
right?
to
To cry,
breathe.
cry about it. Yeah.
Wow, I really need that. I really need to hear that. Thank you. And I think a lot of people needed to hear that. Beautiful. Thank you. What is your take on soulmates? I really want to ask that. What is your take on soulmates?
Um, I I don't believe in soulmates. Like
Okay,
if
why?
the bottom line, right? And I will explain why. I don't think that, because it's like putting all your eggs in one basket, basically, right? If you believe there's only one perfect person for you out there, then you know you can spend all your life looking for something like a purple unicorn and never find it, right? It's like
Mhm.
the stakes are too high and the price of failure is just so huge that like you would never be happy if you don't find your soulmate. I think that there are so many people that we can be compatible with, and I think essentially it boils down to knowing what you want and knowing your standards,
Yeah.
what qualities you're looking for in your ideal partner, like what qualities do they need to possess, right? And sometimes I would even ask my clients to like sit down and write out, right, all the qualities not related to appearance, of course, like personality qualities that you would want to see in your ideal partner, right? Just write them down and visualize them. How do you imagine your perfect day would be like with them? Like what would you do? Like what movies would you watch? Would you like go out for a walk? Would you make dinner together? And the more detailed you can imagine your partner and your life together, the easier it would be for you to find the person that fits that criteria. And I'm sure there will be many, many people who will fit that criteria, right? And it's not about just one perfect person that you can be happy with. I think it's really about like knowing what you want. And then when you meet someone, just like through talking, through connecting with them, you ultimately can find out whether you're compatible, whether you have the same values in life, whether you have fun together, and whether they have all the qualities that you're looking for. And that's about it. So yeah, I don't think soulmates is really such a nice idea.
Beautiful. But how do we know the one? I mean, the one.
The one
Is
one.
it that thing you call love at first sight, or it is something you have to negotiate? Like, okay, are we compatible? Are we not? How do you know this is the one, or that person is the one? Is it instincts? How do you know?
I think it's a lot of things, right? It's you should always trust your gut. Obviously, this is like very important thing. If you meet the person and everything seems to be perfect and you have this like love and affection for them or infatuation, right? You're in love, but somewhere in the gut, like it doesn't feel right. Yeah, and it usually is not right, when your gut tells you so. But I think there are a few important things you can look at when you meet someone and you're really in love with, and then at certain stage of your relationship, you feel like, there's time to kind of step it up and go on the next stage of your relationship. Maybe like 1 month. Usually, I would say it happens 1 month in, like 1 to 3 months in. Like you meet someone new, like this first 3 months is like, crazy love,
Mhm.
super fun. You're having lots of sex, you're having lots of, silly things together. But then there comes a time where you ultimately start thinking, what are we, and what are we doing here? And that's when usually this conversation happens of like, okay, what are we doing? Are we boyfriend girlfriend? Are we in a relationship? What is happening, right? And if a person first responds to, like, you share them with them your feelings and thoughts, you say like, you know what, I'm really in love with you and I would love to see where this goes, to be in a relationship with you. And they would be like, yes, totally. I totally feel the same way. Let's do this, right? That feels good. But then when you have this conversation and you share your feelings with the person, and then they say like, ooh, I don't know, I'm not ready for it yet. I maybe need some time. I'm not ready for anything serious just yet. I mean, I personally would not like sit around and wait, and I would never advise somebody to settle for something like that. It's like, if you're at the point in your life when you're ready for a serious relationship and the person tells you like, no, like I'm not, just don't wait around for them. Just, move on, and you'll find someone who will, want to be committed with you, who would want to start something serious with you. So the mutual, like being on the same page, I think it's super super important, in finding the one, right? And I guess the other thing is like, when we go further down the line, like we go further into the relationship, is to see what their problem solving skills are. How do they deal with challenges in relationship, right? Because problems will eventually come up. There's
Yeah.
no relationship without
Mhm. Mhm.
arguing, and it's okay to argue. Like it's totally fine and normal when
Yeah.
two people have different opinions on something, because when you're in love, you tend to agree with each other mostly, like, oh my god, you totally, let's do this. But then, maybe 5 months in, 6 months in, you start to see the differences, because this infatuation starts to fade, and then it transforms into something different and something new. And that's where the first maybe arguments will start to come up, and people will see like, okay, we're not as compatible as we thought we are. How do we solve this? And that's where your problem solving skills become very very important. And then you can look at your partner and see, how do they deal with it? Do they get angry and shut down? Can they sit down and talk to you? Can they have this like open conversation? Can they share their feelings? Or is it hard for them to do so, right? It's like, if you have a similar way of dealing with problems in a relationship, that's when you're really compatible. That's when you found that person that wants to stick around, who doesn't want to run away when problems arise, who wants to sit down, and talk to you and like, let's solve this. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do to make this better, right? And I think that's a really good sign of someone who is committed and who wants the relationship to work.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Really beautiful. I need a moment to take that all in. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right.
Yulia, how do you recognize an, should I say, an unhealthy relationship? And what's,
Okay, yeah, that's a hard question, because no, I mean, I think there are different signs of people finding themselves in like a toxic, unhealthy relationship.
yeah.
um I think one of the signs that, like, for me, it was one of the biggest signs that I found, is that when you need to ask for your, or to beg for your partner's attention all the time. And so um, when you find yourself in this situation, it means that something is not right. When you feel like your needs are constantly not met in a
One-sided.
relationship, yeah. And when you try to communicate this to your partner and to tell, like, look, I really want this, and you don't provide this for me. For example, like, you really want cuddles, right? And you're like, your main love language is physical touch, and you can't live without touching, cuddling, and maybe your partner is a little bit colder, but you tell them, like, look, for me it's really important that you hold me, that you, like, maybe give me massage or pat my hair or something like that. And they kind of listen to you and they say okay, but then they don't do it, right? They forget about it because it's not important for them. And then you find yourself in a situation where you constantly feel like you're starving for something that you want, and your partner doesn't give it to you, even though you've told them multiple times that this is something you want, right? So I think this is probably one of the signs that you are in a healthy relationship, or in a relationship where your needs are not met.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That is really, really true. Relationship is something that is 50-50, I think, maybe 100-100. Comes from both
Absolutely.
sides. Sometimes we make compromises.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Yulia, what is your advice for someone that is getting back into dating?
Yeah, it can be scary, right? It's
Yes, it is.
definitely,
It is.
I know. And it's like, so you've had this relationship, and now it's over, and now, like, you find yourself single again,
Mm,
and you think, oh my God, I have to start, like, going on dates and meeting all those people, and also, like, start, searching again. And it's like you start from ground zero, basically, right? But if you think about it, you don't start from ground zero, right? You're already smarter and wiser and more experienced. And it doesn't matter, if you've been in a relationship for a year or 5 years, you coming out of the other end, a more experienced, a wiser person, essentially. So it's really, you never start from ground zero. At least I look at it this way. It's like, just think of yourself as someone who, now, with all this knowledge that I have about relationship, with all this experience of my past relationship, I can, go on and find something better, something I can actually, someone I can actually be happy with.
do it.
So I think that's a really good mindset to have. And plus, the other thing is maybe also shifting your mindset from thinking like, oh my God, I'm single again, how do I start dating, into, like, being excited about it. Find something you can actually be excited about. Like, meeting new people is always fun, connecting with people. And there's so many amazing humans in this world, so many great people who you can admire. And I think every new person you meet is a new chance to, practice your social skills, practice connecting with people. And I think this is super exciting. And just approaching dating with this open curiosity, with the mindset of, like, oh my God, I'm going to meet new people, I'm going to learn something new, and kind of pumping yourself up for this adventure and finding things to be excited about. I think it's super, super important, because when you think about it, like, oh my God, if I have to start dating again, of course, like, with this type of mindset, I don't think it would be
I
fun
know.
for anybody. But I think it's super fun. And like I said, maybe sitting down with yourself and really think about what are you looking for this time, and kind of looking at your past relationship, learning from mistakes, and knowing, okay, I don't want this. Like, and you can even write a list of, like, things you want and things you don't want.
Mhm.
Now you have your deal breakers, because you know what didn't work in the previous relationship, and now you know, like, okay, I definitely don't want that. And that's a really good experience to have, like, not knowing what you don't want. It's also just as important as knowing what you
And
want.
what you want.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
absolutely. Yeah.
Would you recommend sex on first dates? I mean, what's your take on that?
um Totally go for it if it feels right. I'm never against it, right? The other thing is, like, why you're doing this. It's
Mm,
it's really important to understand whether you're having sex on the first date because you met this amazing person that you have instant chemistry with, and you have this, like, super passionate connection, which happens, right? It definitely happens every once in a while that you meet someone and you're just like, oh my God, I want to have you right now. And it's like,
Exactly. I know.
yeah, right, it
I
happens.
know that feeling.
But but at the same time, I know that a lot of people have sex on the first date just because they feel desperate, because they feel lonely and they don't want to like stay at home alone one more night. And I think this is the wrong reason to do it, right? Because if you do this for the wrong reasons, you will feel empty afterwards. You will not feel like fulfilled. You will feel like this was like useless, and you will feel even worse than before, right? So if it's for passion, if it's for like just purely because of like the authentic attraction for someone, absolutely go for it, right? But if you're using sex, trying to fill a hole in yourself, basically, and like sleeping with a new person every night just like to not
Mhm.
be alone, probably not the best idea to do that, right? It wouldn't do you any good. It's the same thing as doing drugs to get over breakup, because it never works, right? Because you
Bad
will
idea.
always, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not the greatest idea. So kind of the same thing. So like ask yourself, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I really love like this person and they turn me on and I want to have sex with them? Or am I doing this just to not be alone? And there's a big difference.
Wow, beautiful. So after the first date, right? And you're kind of like expecting, the response from the person, and you get nothing back. The second day, nothing. What would you say to someone in this situation?
Hmm. This is, well, it's definitely difficult. I would, you can reach out to them once, right? If like there's always a chance, that something happened and they're busy or something. But if you reach out to them once and they don't respond even after you text them, I would say just, get over it. It's not worth it, because I mean, you know that when the date goes well and both people are into each other, the communication happens, right? People, they follow up, they ask for a second date, they text you, they want to see how you're doing and stuff like that. And if you feel the indifference, if you don't feel any kind of feedback, then I mean, what's the point, right? And I know it's hard to kind of get over someone without getting a closure, because we always wanted to know, like, why did you ghost me, what is
It
wrong
was
with
so
me, right?
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I'm so cool, like, why you don't want me? But unfortunately, you cannot always get closure, right? And it sucks. But again, there's therapy for that, and you can always, write them an angry letter and then burn it. There's like things you can do to help yourself to get over it emotionally and not get stuck in this place of like just being angry and hateful, because it wouldn't do you any good. Yeah, sometimes people ghost you, and this is the risk of going back into dating, right? There's always a risk of getting hurt. There's always a risk of someone not appreciating you. But this is ultimately the price we pay for finding love, right? If we don't like put ourselves out there, and if we kind of running away from the pain, if we're hiding from the world and not kind of showing up, then you're losing your chances to find someone who is really into you, right?
Yeah.
Because in order to get to someone who wants you and loves you for who you are, you will maybe have to suffer some painful breakups and some rejections. And that happens because you can't be liked by everybody, right? We all have different tastes, and it's okay if someone doesn't like you. It's fine. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with you, right? It means nothing. It just means that that particular person was not into you, and that's it. One person does not mean all people, right? Like one person, one vote. And if one person didn't like you, okay, whatever, there's so much more people out there who would like you. So yeah, but it sucks for sure. I mean, being ghosted, and
Yeah.
it's definitely
It does.
something
It
we
feel
all
like,
have to deal with.
am I not enough?
I
It makes you
know.
question yourself. I hate that feeling.
It's terrible. But like if you know, or if you always know that you are enough and that it's not about me, right? And for sure it's like there's always this like nagging voice in our head, right? That tells us that we're not enough and like what's wrong, like why they didn't like me. But it's, you cannot always trust that voice, right? Because it's always mean to us and it's not always supportive when we need it to be. And um, actually in therapy, that's where I found out like who that voice represents, like which part of yourself it represents. And it's usually that part that wasn't loved, that wasn't cared for. And if you can connect with it, if you can talk to this part of yourself that's hurting and ask it, why do you think you're not enough? And how can I make you feel like you're enough? How can I love you more? And then that voice will become quieter and quieter, and you will learn to cooperate with the voice, right? And it wouldn't be nagging you as much.
Um, wow, Yulia, thank you for sharing this.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Guys, we go on a short break. Yulia, we go on a short break and we will be right back.
What's up? Yeah, come talk with us. I say TW. What's up? Yeah, come talk with us. I say TW.
Hello, guys, welcome back. We are on the agree or disagree questions. Yulia, fake it till you make it. What is your take on that? Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. Ultimately, I think it's a helpful mindset to have, right? You cannot always feel your best self. You can not always feel like you're crushing it, right? There are days when you feel like just crawling in the hole and dying, basically, right? There are days when you just hate the world, but you know, even when you don't feel your best self, it doesn't mean that you have to, just shut down from the world and not try to connect with people. So I think that to me, it's not about faking it, right? It's more about um, doing things despite the fear, doing things despite the anxiety, right? I don't like the word fake, right? Because it's not a good word. But if we're
Yes.
talking about like connecting or approaching people or starting conversations or being more social, you will feel the fear and you will feel anxiety regardless of how long have you been practicing your social skills, right? You will always feel some sort of anxiety, but doing it despite the anxiety, despite the fear, that's what matters, right? So it's like with actors, it doesn't matter how much time you've been performing on stage. Every time you go on stage, you're still feeling nervous, right? There's no way you can completely feel like calm and zen, there's no such thing, right? So I think important thing is like how you manage your anxiety, how you manage your feelings of like, oh, I'm not feeling like it today. Like, what do you do to help yourself, get out of that place and get to the place where you're like, okay, I can do this. So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So, I actually do not believe in fake it till you make it, but the way you just explained it now, it's giving me a whole different rethink. It's like telling yourself, I can do it. I know I am capable. So we should change that word fake. We should use something else.
Yeah, because
Beautiful.
we don't have to strive for perfection. And I know like I'm also sort of a perfectionist and I'm always stuck in the cycle of like I cannot do something unless I know it would be perfect, right? Or like I cannot write a post unless I know it's like amazing and perfect in every single way. And it always, it really stops you from making progress. So it's the same in communication, it's the same in dating. It's like you don't have to make every date perfect, right? As long as you enjoy it, as long as you're having fun, it's okay. Just don't strive for perfection. Don't wait for the perfect moment, perfect time, because it will never come. But just knowing that if you can get through this, if you can, I don't know, tell yourself, I'm going to do it because I promised myself that I will, right? And not betraying yourself. Because if you made yourself a promise and you don't fulfill it, then you will have this feeling of like, I betrayed myself. And then you will trust your judgment a little bit less, and then you will trust your feelings a little bit less. So staying true to the promises you've made to yourself, staying true to, those things that you said you were gonna do. I think it's important, and yeah, it's not about faking. It's about like doing things despite, right? Despite feeling something, like feeling like you don't want to do it, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a whole rethink about this. Yulia, where can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram. That's where I'm at the most, at fluffy_Jules. That yeah, I respond to DMs, and I give free 15-minute consultations to see if if we're a good fit, if we can work together. And DM me if you need some coaching. I'll be happy to talk.
Guys, go follow her on fluffy_Jules. She is incredible. She's amazing.
Thank
Yulia,
you.
thank you so much for being on
Oh
the
my
show
gosh.
today. Thank you. We have come to the end of the show. Thank you. All the
Thank you so
information.
much. I
Yeah.
had so much fun.
I
You
have so
had
much downloads
amazing
right now, I'm telling
questions.
you. On
Oh
my
my
next
god.
date, I hope I slay it. And
Yes,
guys,
you will.
thank you.
I know you
Leave your
will.
comments down below. And if you have any questions, comments, we're excited to reading them. Thank you, Yulia. Till
Thank
next
you.
time. Bye.
Bye bye.
Ciao.